Okay. We're gonna be starting a little bit early because we have a lot to go over today. As you know, today is the game pitch meetings. We're gonna have everybody who wanted to pitch a game come up and present their game idea, and then the rest of you are able to join whichever team interests you the most. First, we have. I'm gonna try not to take too long. I'm gonna try and speedrun this because we have so much to go over. First up, just a couple of really quick announcements. I hope you all saw the announcement, but as you know, we got a lot of game pitches this semester, more than we've ever received before, and it's just impossible for us to fit it all today. So because of that, we're going to be postponing our Friday workshop, and also we're going to be postponing our round one social. And this Friday, instead of our workshop, we're going to be having another game pitch meeting with the rest of the game pitches. So today, we're going to be having 10 game pitches come up today. And on Friday, we're going to be having the remaining 7. So please try and make it on Friday if you can, just to see all the game pitches available to you. And it's going to be in Building 6, Room 204. It's like the building right down over there. And it's the same room that we had the social in or all our previous workshops if you've ever been there. And if you can't make it in person, I understand it's a Friday. It'll also be available online through Discord. And yeah. And so now, how do you join a team? It's pretty simple. Just go onto the Get Your Roles channel on Discord, and then you'll see this message from Carlbot, and then you just react with whichever team you want to join, and you'll be given the role of that team. And then once you have that role, you'll have access to a private text channel with the rest of your teammates, and you guys can go from there. A lot of people like to make their own Discord server and like have the members join that. That's completely fine too. It's all up to you. And anybody have any questions? Okay, in that case, next week, next Tuesday, same time, same room, all that, we're going to be having a guest speaker come in and speak with us. He is a Game Dev Club alumni. He's actually a previous president of this club, and he's worked on games such as Call of Duty Modern Warfare. So yeah, if you can make it, definitely try to make it if you can. It's going to be really, really exciting. We're really glad to have him back with us, and yeah. And then, as usual, help support our club. Yes, please give us money. Here's the shirt again, in case you haven't seen. The deadline is September 30th. Here's our merch. Here's the order form for the merch, but I'm going to skip over that because we have no time. Oh, yeah. We'll be sending out all these links in an announcement later, too, by the way. And then we're going to be having a game jam in a little under a month. It starts October 13th, which is a weekend, and ends on 15th, which is a Sunday. And then round one social, it's been pushed back by a week. It's now going to be on October 6th. If you're a VIP member, we'll be giving you a free game card for the arcade, and we'll be sending out an RSVP form soon, so please fill that out if you're planning on attending. Okay, with all that out of the way, we're going to get started with the very first game pitch. First up, we've got Blackjack Attack. Set.
Oh, I got a mic. That's really cool. So yeah, let's get right into this. My game is going to be Blackjack Attack. Hit the spacebar, please. So what I plan on doing is a roguelike style dungeon explorer while exploiting inner gambling. Obviously, Blackjack's the best game ever, and I want all of you to be addicted by the end of the semester. So what are we inspired by? Blackjack. How original. It's obviously inspired by Blackjack. We got roguelike elements like Binding of Isaac, and then I want to do some also like having a real nice hub world and some level progression like Mystery Dungeon. If we get time for that, it'd be pretty cool. So gameplay. How this is going to work is you're going to go into rooms with enemies. How are the enemies spawned? By the card that you were given in Blackjack. So for example, the 10 of clubs, you'd be in the club room, and then you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 enemies. Very simple. We have a nice little flow chart. If you're curious on how the gameplay works, you go through card 1, card 2. You kind of decide what you want to do. You want to hit, you want to stand, you want to double down. Be pretty cool. If you don't bust at all, then eventually you go to the dealer room. You win your bet back. And then you just kind of keep going through, paying the bets. You lose money, win money. Hopefully you don't die, because then you lose all your money. Be pretty sad. MVP, so what do we actually want to have by the end of the semester? I want to have a home base with the bank where you can store your money. That way every time you go in, you're choosing how much you want to risk, and if you can actually get through the entire dungeon. I want to have some nice player combat systems, attack, block, dash, very simple stuff. Enemy variety, obviously there's a lot of enemies. You're going through shoes of like 50 cards, 100 cards, 200 cards. Gotta have some nice enemy variety so that it's not boring. The player can play blackjack. Again, very clear in the name. You are going to be playing blackjack. And then you'll have some nice procedural room generation, so each dungeon is very random. And yeah, that's what we think about the MVP. Potential expansion. We have a lot of stuff we can add. We want to have weapon drops, craftable items, leveling system, wider enemy variety, shop system, skill tree, enemy variety, story, microtransactions, am I right? It's a very important part. And then it keeps going. So obviously, there's a lot that I think we can work on with this game beyond the MVP. Should be very cool if we get a lot of people. If everyone just joins my game right at the start, then we have a AAA studio right there. Just saying. Oh, can you actually hear it through this? Okay. Oh, it's on Discord. I was like, I don't hear this reverberating through the room. Okay, my bad. Keep going. Art style. I am not an artist. I am very grateful that there are artists in this room so that I do not have to do the art. Please join if you are an artist. Right now I'm thinking pixel art would be cool. I kind of understand how pixel art works, but if we get artists that know something else, more than happy to change that. Music, I like smooth jazz while playing poker and blackjack, so maybe some of that. I also like John Wick music for the nice high techno fighting, so that'd be pretty cool if you feel like John Wick while playing this game. Next. Who we need? We need game designers. We need programmers. We will be using Unity. Our plan is to not have very many people playing this game, but they're all whales, so we do not have to care about the new monetization plan. Sorry. Composers, artists, writers, speakers. I don't like speaking. If someone else could present this at the end, very appreciated. Gamblers, if you would like to lose money, please come our way. And playtesters, because playtesting is very important to making a good video game, yada, yada, yada. The villain. Is it you because you want to gamble for fun? Very bad of all of you. Next. Is it me for encouraging gambling in children and young adults? Have I lied to you? Yes. I lied to my friends about this game. I lied to the club. I lied to all of them about what this game is. Next. But what? Why? I'm not making Blackjack Attack. This has all been a big prank. I'm making Jack Black Attack! So we will not be playing Blackjack Attack. We will be doing Jack Black Attack. It's a way cooler name. Look at that. And we also have Jack Black in the game. Is he friend or foe? Who knows? But Jack Black is attacking. Join the team to find out. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Seth. Okay, next up we've got Fate of Love. Is there? Oh, there we go. All right, use the mic.
All right. Yep. So hey, I'm Justin. On Discord, I go by Logi Kara, or that douchebag with the really shitty jacket. I don't really care what you call me. My game is Fate of Love, title pending. I really don't know what the title's actually going to be. Find your true fate in this loving cast of characters. You only get one shot in life. Or do you? So the premise, at first, it's a very traditional dating sim visual novel. You gain affection points and you reach the endings, blah, blah, blah. However, there's going to be a twist. Upon loading a past save or restarting onto a new run, the characters will remember your previous decisions, and they will react based on how you were treating them before. So as like a sort of visualization, let's say you have event 1, and let's call the characters Arif and Barrett, A and B. So let's say you're choosing a type of pizza, cheese or pepperoni. Arif really likes cheese pizza. Barrett, if you choose cheese pizza, you're a fucking hellspawn. So, and then you decide, oh, I don't really like Arif. She fucking dies. I don't really give a shit about her. I want to be with Barrett. So you restart the event. However, when you restart the event, because you chose cheese pizza the first time, Barrett already thinks you're a fucking hellspawn. And now the event completely changes into a different kind of scenario. MVP, basically we want 2 flags or 2 events and endings for 2 different characters for the initial playthrough, and about 2 layers of change like the initial and then a second change for both characters and their events. Stretch goals, we add more characters, flags, layers, blah, blah, blah. honestly, the scope can go really fucking far, so I'm not trusting that stretch goal. I just want to start with at least that so we can get the basic premise down. Who's being recruited? Honestly, literally everyone. Programmers, we're gonna need some way to implement this shit. I have an idea. I'm not sure it's gonna be able to be done. Writers, please, if you're a writer, please fucking join. There's so much fucking variation to this shit. I don't want to deal with all of that alone. Please, artists and musicians, like it's probably gonna be a very school theme, and just very visual novel style songs, and probably a bit more tense stuff for when things change. I don't care if you have experience or not. I don't have experience, so it's not that much of a big deal. Other notes, it's probably going to be Ren'Py. The main problem is if we can actually implement the save system into Ren'Py. So we need to test that first. If not, then we might need to switch to a different engine. I'm thinking Godot otherwise as an alternative. So TLDR, let's make a dating sim, but every character sans Undertale. Anyone interested in can join. Contact me on Logikara and whatever the system, the GDC thing with the Carlbot. And yeah.
Thank you. Okay, next, Sam. Oh wait, you want me to play it?
Oh, wait, hold on.
No.
Yeah, you can go play now. Alright, so hi everyone. My name is Sam. If you guys don't already know, I am the vice president of this club. I have been part of the board as like a board or officer for like the past couple years in this club. And this is going to be my game pitch. But before we begin, I'm going to give you kind of like set the scene a little bit. Being back home after a long time will always bring back the memories. Oh, some good and some bad. That's what that said. It's too bad the bus stop only goes so far. Looks like you'll have to walk the rest of the way home. There's a mouse? That's pretty. Try not to think about all those ghost stories your Lola used to tell you. They are not real, and they will not hurt you. Anyway, that was it. So, what is my game exactly? So, the pitch for my game is, the game is called The Other Half, and it's not really a finished title just yet. So, basically, the bus stops just short of your relative's home in the countryside of the Philippines, and after a late night in the city, it's now time for you to walk deep into the forest and head back home. So that's kind of like the vibe of the game. The actual summary, it's a horror game with minimalist design, so either low poly 3D or 2D pixel graphics. The player has to walk home in a dark forest while avoiding the horrific mythical creatures of Filipino folklore, because I am Filipino. This game emphasizes atmosphere and it calls back to classic horror games like Silent Hill, Slender the 8 Pages, and more. So, what are the origins? Like, why do I want to make this game in the first place? So, I wanted to make a supernatural horror game, but I noticed how much like horror elements or horror media relies so much on like faith, a Western faith and mythology. So you have like your angels and your demons type beat, especially when it like deals with like supernatural horror. So this time I wanted to develop a game that takes inspiration from my own culture, from my own like background, and from my own like history, which is why the creatures in this game will be based on Filipino folklore. So. What is going to be like the main antagonist of the game, basically. So the main creature that will be featured in this game is called a manananggal. And for those of you who don't know, a manananggal is basically a feminine and vampire-like creature that separates its upper half from its bottom half at night to hunt for its prey. So that's kind of why the title of the game is called The Other Half. So here are some inspirations for the game. So takes place. Wendigoon recently released like a 4-hour-long video about Faith, and I love that game. And it was such a good video. You know, Faith is basically a minimalist pixel-style horror game, and it does such a good job of like emphasizing horror while only working in like 16-bit, basically. Obviously, Slender the 8 pages, the classic, like, hopefully we don't get into any kind of controversies like what actually happened, like, with Slender and everything, but another thing are the Puppet Combo games. If you guys don't know, Puppet Combo is a game studio that specializes in low poly horror games, and they like kind of base it off of like 80s horror slasher tropes. So that's kind of like the vibe that we're going for as well. So still in development. So I thought about the premise of the game, but I still haven't really thought exactly out like the specifics. So it's probably going to take place in the Good Dough game engine because that is what I'm most familiar with, and obviously, where Unity happened. So as far as the graphics go, we have a couple different avenues. We could either do 2D pixel graphics similar to Fate, or we could do low poly 3D graphics, kind of like the Puppet Combo games, or we could do a mix of both, similar to like Petscop, but technically Petscop's not a game, it's like an ARG kind of thing. As far as the gameplay loop, a lot of this atmospheric horror are honestly they're just walking simulators, and sometimes you collect stuff. Which is totally fine for like the minimum viable product of this game, but we could also see if we want to add any survival horror aspects, like would you be able to kill the enemy in this case. So speaking of my minimum viable product, this is kind of what I want to have by the end of the semester. So I want to have a cutscene for the beginning, something short to introduce the player to the situation they're in, so nothing too crazy, just like, hey, you're this character, you're on the bus ride home, and the bus doesn't go all the way to your house, so now you have to walk there. I want to also have at least a player model and an enemy model. Again, what the graphics are there, we can talk about what we want to go for. I want to have at least one level of the player either just walking around or collecting items. Like I said, a lot of classic atmospheric horror are just walking simulators, or like, if you take the Slender Man route, like you just walk around and collect pages and try to make sure the Slenderman doesn't kill you. Obviously, I want to have some kind of soundtrack and sound effects since we have like a heavy emphasis on the atmosphere of the video game. Atmosphere is always generated by like the aesthetics of the game, so there's a really heavy emphasis on like how this game will aesthetically feel to the player. Stretch goals, more detailed narrative, more levels and other mechanics, include other focal limits and voice acting, and I think that's it. Thank you. Sorry, I went over time, but that's it.
All right, I don't know how I'm going to beat the past few game pitches because those were all really good presentations. But basically, I'm Lawrence, or Larry. I was one of the previous presidents of the Game Dev Club. And this is going to be, as it says, the sequel to the first game pitch that I ever worked on. Next slide. All right, so... Thanks, Melvin. All right, so it's going to be called Gunslinger Hilda, and it's a sequel to a game called Cowboy Zelda. And as I was making these slides, I realized that I don't think many people were around here when we made Cowboy Zelda, so I'm going to provide some context to Cowboy Zelda first. So Cowboy Zelda was a top-down, it was like the original Zelda, but you're a cowboy. And then it was pitched by this guy named Tony. We don't know where Tony is anymore. We love Tony. Tony, come back if you're watching this video. Anyways, so basically, I didn't know how to code, and then I learned how to code through this game, and it's so good that this is the win condition. You just have to get your character to here. You could shoot the win condition because I forgot an if statement. But anyways, so what is Gunslinger Hilda? It's nothing like the original. It's just it's a third-person roguelike shooter, and that's nothing like the original, as I mentioned earlier. So yeah, it's like not game inspirations, technologies. So we're gonna be using Unity. Very unfortunate what happened with Unity, but I already have a prototype, so it's all good. And then here we're gonna be using Blender. Blender's cool because it's open source, and it doesn't charge you per Blender file you make. And now game inspirations. I was thinking a lot about Risk of Rain 2 because I'm addicted. Doom Eternal because I want the enemy types to sort of have different weaknesses depending on what weapon you're using. And then Kid Icarus Uprising. I'll explain more on that later. And then I thought the running animation would be hilarious if it was like the Kens, like running like the horse galloping from the Barbie movie. All right, next up. All right, so first up, procedural generation. I already kind of have a mini prototype here, but honestly, it's not great because like here, if you spawn here, you can't get to anywhere else on this part of the map. So I need like, this is for like more advanced programmers. I have a few ideas listed here, but this is something that we'll get more into later when we actually like work on the game. Next slide. And then different gun types. So we right now we have 3 different gun types. We're thinking like a revolver, a shotgun, and a sniper. This one's more medium range, and then you can fire it a bit more than the shotgun. Shotgun's close range, and then sniper is far range, as usually these things are in these different types of shooter games. And then next up, bullet power-ups. So I thought it's like, oh, what would be cooler than to have like your bullets do different things depending on what items you have or what power-ups you have. So we have different stat, like your generic stat boost where it just like changes the number, that sort of thing. And I was thinking more unique properties. We don't need to implement all of these by the MVP. I was just thinking we take bits and pieces, whatever people are interested in trying to implement, and then we implement them, and then we add more as we go. I have a longer list somewhere. And then for the bullet power-ups, I really like Kid Icarus Uprising's little Tetris thingamadoodle. Then I found out Resident Evil 4 did it, so I had to mention Resident Evil 4. But yeah. Okay. All right, yeah, so that's bullet power-ups. Enemy types, 4 different enemy types. Generic skeletons, birds that dive at you way too fast. Cactus that are really big and then they roll at you. And then serpents that shoot at you from a distance. And then gameplay loop. You basically just like clear areas, kind of like Hades, and then you just go from area to area, different objectives depending on what again. Yeah, continue. Next slide. All right, MVP. Shooting, procedural generation, enemy types, room to room, maybe a stopwatch for speedrunning because speedrunning would be funny. And then stretch goals, a boss fight. This is from the original game, except it was a pixel guy. It's called Train Man. There's lore, anyways. Bullet powers, more new objectives, maybe a different biome. Maybe we'll put like a cave or something, or maybe an ocean in a desert. And then a scoring system, because, scoring system. And then I need free labor. So programmers, new programmers, you'll be working on like shooting, bullet, UI, audio, whatever. Artists, we love to have 3D model. 3D modelers, and then musicians. We need really cool music. And then if you're more advanced at programming, we also have stuff for you. So like something like more procedural generation and more advanced enemy AI, and maybe we want to try shaders later on. But yeah, and then next slide. All right, cool. If you're interested, Emergency Player, that's my Discord ad. And then join if you're interested in meeting new people. And yeah, cool.
All right, next up, Insanity Delivery.
All right, hello, my name is Cole. You can call me Mr. Lupon2 on Discord. That's my Discord name. Anyways, next slide. Insanity Delivery, it's an arcade-style racer where it's like Crazy Taxi, but you drive deliverers to deliver food, and basically you don't want to spill the food, you know? Next slide. So here's the gameplay loop. You drive up to the deliverers, you deliver tells you where to go, then you go to that location while trying to maintain the spills meter. Basically, don't crash into walls and stuff. And then you get scored based on how well you drove and basically how well you did stunt, which won't be the MPV for now because we're trying to focus on the main goal. And then how much you'll be chipped by the deliverer depending on how much spillage you didn't make. So you have less spillage, you're most likely going to get a better score compared to having more spillage, but you get less good score. So rinse and repeat within a 5-minute time limit. Sorry about that. I forgot to mention that. Next slide. So our MPV minimum viable product will include a driver and a car, a scoring system based on how well you delivered, 2 types of deliveries, which would namely be pizza for solids and coffee for liquids, compass to point direction to destination, 1 level in a semi-crowded city, and systems for a spillage meter depending on the collision. Our stretch goals will be voice acting, advanced pot placement for stunts, war type for food, scoring system at the end of the time limit, more drivers and cars to choose from, and basic stunts like drifting and jumping from the ramps. Next slide. My inspiration, or gameplay-wise, is based on Crazy Taxi, and that one Simpsons game that Crazy Taxi developer Sega sued, basically, because, you know, it was too much copyright. Next slide. And for graphic-wise, my goal to be cel-shaded, similar to Wind Waker and Jet Set Radio, which is basically closely like cartoonist cel-shaded vibe, which is basically perfect for an arcade game. Next slide. So we're going to be using Godot because Unity sucks now. We need 2D artists, 3D modelers. I can do that because I'm very experienced with both 2D and a little bit of 3D, but I'm really experienced with 2D. We need upbeat rock music to match the frenzy of this video game. Mason voice acting for the delivered if we get to that stretch goal, that is. We're also gonna be. I'm pretty new to this game dev thing, so you can like help me along with it. That'll be very great. And next slide. Thank you for everything. Just if you have more questions, like contact me at Discord via at Mr. Lupon for more info. Thank you.
Larry, notice how he didn't go over time?
No, literally, me and you have pitched games before, and we're the ones who went over time. It's so funny.
Okay, hello, my name is Quentin, also Piggy Friend on Discord, very cool name. My game pitch is Slime Hop. So, what is Slime Hop? So, Slime Hop is gonna be a 2D puzzle platformer where you play as a slime named Slimper, my child, and he can split into multiple copies of himself in order to traverse through obstacles. And the goal is to traverse through those obstacles to get to the king slime. So the game summary, you play as Slimper, and you live to serve the king slime for survival. You need to get to the king slime, but there are various obstacles and hazards in the way, and your goal is simply go to point A to point B to progress to other levels. Now, the copy and swapping mechanic is gonna be what makes this game unique, and you can essentially spawn a copy of yourself and it can mimic your movements, and you can swap between that clone and yourself, and vice versa. And you can only have you can recall it at any time, and also spawn it, and you can only have one on screen at a time. Next, so how's this mechanic work? Let's say for example you have to get from here to there, but there's a red obstruction on the way. Now, you have to press that button in order to get rid of those, in order to go through there. Now, if you see, now the opening is open when you press the button, but if you were to get off of the button, you'll notice that you can't go through because there's nothing pressing that button. Now this will make you very upset because, well, how are you supposed to get through that? So, what is the real solution to this? The copy and swap mechanic. You can spawn a clone of yourself. You can have the clone go to the button, and then you can pass through without any worries. Yippee! Okay, so my inspiration for gameplay. I want this game to be 2D pixelated with a game progression similar to Celeste and Portal. Basically, the levels will be very short, like 10 to 50 seconds, and will be like one level, and like how in Portal, how Portal has like those small chambers, it will be like short, like little levels, and the art style will be rough, will be sort of rough like Pizza Tower, but also like similar to Celeste in colors. And the music and sound effects will be similar to Celeste. And the minimal viable product. The minimal viable product will include a working player character, the copy and swap mechanics, level mechanics such as buttons and doors, 10 short levels, and stretch goals. If we do manage to get galleries, a level select, more unique level mechanics, story with a mini opening cutscene and ending cutscene, and credits showing everyone who's worked at the game, as a drawing of themselves as like a little slime. And people I'm looking for: 2D artists or pixel artists, programmers, level designers. Would be nice to have music creators or for the background music, sound designers for sound effects, and writers for possible story. And thank you for listening.
Okay. Next up, Frontline Fritz.
I'm terrible at public speaking. So if my legs are shaking, I'm not nervous. I'm just excited about life. Yeah, so my game is Frontline Fritz, which is a puzzle stealth platformer. And I'll just be talking about my inspiration, main gameplay, minimum viable product, and like development. So introduction, Frontline Frips is a stealth platforming game set in World War II. The player would be playing as a cat spot. Oh, this is the old one. So the player would be playing as like a cat spy whose main goal is just to look for vital information on enemy soldiers and snooping through documents and stuff like that. I forgot to change it. Oopsies. So, it's fine. So my main inspiration is Saving Private Ryan. I love war movies, and especially in that movie, I love the like kind of haunted aspect it gave war. And I also had inspiration from Last of Us, specifically the collectibles and letters and stuff, like Ish's letters, where it kind of built the world out, which I'll get into more later. And then finally, Biggie and Smalls, which I guess are my roommates. They're like my landlord's cats. I just like seeing them walk around. Right, next. So the main gameplay would be split up into two different things. Stealth platforming, which would be like simple and straightforward. This isn't like a competitive platformer. This isn't like Celeste or anything. I just want it to feel like satisfying, and I just want you to be able to explore the levels. And then document analysis, which is basically just a complicated way of saying you'd be annotating notes. Like you'd be looking through letters or maps and stuff, and like as you can see up there, you would just be highlighting important information. Next. So the minimum viable product, I just want one interesting thought out level. Movement and stealth mechanic where you can hide from enemies, and for the enemies to be able to be alerted by your movements and stuff like that. Interactable objects, which would trigger the document screen, and of course a HUD for the document screen. And this is stretching a little bit for the ability to push certain objects. Realistically, the minimal viable product, trademark, can really just be a cat moving and collecting objects. I just didn't think that'd be very interesting, and like to make a game that like gets its merit off the novelty of walking around as a cat. Next. You know, like Stray. I'm kidding. No, I would never joke about Stray. I just wanted to show that that person has 665 hours. So development, I'm extremely inexperienced with game development. So I'll mostly be contributing kind of smaller sprites and like objects like that, and which means I am like down for any game engine like you guys want to use. My experience is with GameMaker, so if no one else has a preference, I guess we'll use GameMaker. And I didn't really say like who I wanted specific because I want everyone to work on this. All right, next. And just to like show what I have art-wise, like this is just some of the sprites I made. Just like really simple style is what I'm going for. But of course, everything's subject to change. You may look at this and you may hate it, and ouch. But we can change that. And thanks for listening, and I hope to work with you guys.
All right, next up we've got Popcorn Teeth.
Hi, I'm Amaya, and this is my horror visual novel called Popcorn Teeth. It's like a twist of the Tooth Fairy, that instead of her going under pillows of kids, she eats the teeth of the she just eats teeth, okay? She doesn't like steal it from under the pillow, okay? Next. So, this is my summary of like the visual novel. So one night, Striking Light Circus's main attraction, Peter the Tooth Fairy, finally breaks free from her cage. Being in a weakened state from abuse and wandless, so she doesn't have her wand, she must regain her strength by feasting on the teeth of her abusers because it gives her powers, and retrieve back her wand from the ringmaster's grasp so she can magically get back home. So this visual novel, you play as the Tooth Fairy and you try to get her back home safe without being captured or punished. And what I need for the minimal viable product are choices, art visuals, like with minimal gore, not too gory, because that's not allowed. Multiple bad endings actually, and one good ending where she gets her wand back and goes home. And so this is the concept art I did of the Tooth Fairy. It can change, but yeah. And then next, and then this is some art I did yesterday, like real quick, of the antagonist, like the ringmaster, and some of the possible enemies the Tooth Fairy can encounter. And next. And this is my inspiration. This is the Tooth Fairy from Hellboy, where the Tooth Fairy eats teeth from people and it kills them. And then this is cooking companions. I really like the visuals on that and the horror aspects. And that's Happy Hills Homicide, where take revenge on the people. Okay, next. And the people I need are programmers, musicians, artists, and writers. And the engine I'm going to be using is RenPy. And I really need like a lot of background artists, character artists, musicians like ominous, intense music, anyone that can make that. And a lot of programmers because I'm not too experienced. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you. All right. Next up, Corroded Kingdom.
Sure. Also, just letting you know, we might be skipping some slides because there's too much content. I need to cut some of it down. All right. So, my name's Daniel. This is Corroded Kingdom. Thanks. Okay. So let's start with the premise. The start of the game goes as you are a land surveyor who just got hired to explore the lost city of Atlantis, and something goes wrong, and once you enter inside, the entrance behind you collapses. Oh, and here's some supporting slides to help visualize that. All right. I won't be able to go over all of this, but all you really need to know is that its genre is RPG/adventure for the gameplay. Here's some sprites for sake of demonstration. So for your options in battle, in a battle environment, you are going to need to fight, use a skill, spell, item, or GTFO. And here's some tutorial elements for the start of the game, trying to be as beginner-friendly as possible. Here are some sprites of the antagonists of the game: the knight, the jester, the executioner, the sorceress, and the final boss, the king. Here are some locations for the characters: an indoor theater and a coliseum, which I guess is an amphitheater. So, okay. For our MVP, I am looking to create a working overworld with wall collision, interactable objects, and room transitions. I also want to create a working battle environment, including player UI and enemy stats. Think of a battle UI similar to a mixture of Undertale, early Final Fantasy, and Pokemon, as you can see by Pikachu. And generally, I want to be able to finish the tutorial leading up to the first major segment of the game, including how to move, how interaction should work in the overworld, and how enemy encounters should work. We won't do this. There's no time. Okay. So for my inspirations, I drew from the Mario & Luigi series, Earthbound, Deltarune, Pokemon, Stardew Valley, and Inscription. In terms of UI design for battles, I draw mostly from Deltarune and Earthbound. And for dialogue, I also draw from Deltarune, but I also draw from Stardew Valley. Okay. And for world design, I draw from Mario & Luigi, Inscription's second act, and lastly, Pokemon. Help. Please help me. I'm very desperate. So for help, I would want to say we are probably going to need a lot of programmers, because I imagine programming an RPG would be pretty difficult. And I would also appreciate additional artists to help designing the overworld, characters, and battle sets. And I would also appreciate sound designers, musicians, and composers to help create ambience and music. I say this lightly. I don't really need them, but I don't want my player walking around in dead silence. So, some additional info. We will likely be using Godot, as it's made for 2D games, or so I've been told. And it would be appreciated to have people familiar in Python and or GD script. Also, find me on Discord, Daniel's Boy, that has 6 eyes. And here is my profile picture. Can't miss it. And thank you. And we hope to be seeing you soon.
All right. Last but not least for today, we have Vertex. Oh.
Sure, we'll take the lights off. Ooh. So, hi guys. This is Vertex. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, after a dinner date gone awry, energetic Mage Canic, Daphne and her mysterious partner have to discover that the mana in their world has been behaving strangely, and they have to battle magical electronics like toasters to restore their abilities and discover the secrets of their world along the way.
So this is a full summary. It's a lot. I don't know if you guys just want to read it. Hear us out, okay? Hear us out. Okay. But yeah, we have some. Okay, bye. We have we have some art for you guys. We've already developed a little bit of like an art style. You know, we have characters, so we don't have totally nothing. Okay, yeah. Go ahead. We're getting to that. Yeah, we're getting to that. So what we hope to learn, or that's not what I was supposed to say, but our minimum viable product. So actually, no, wait. This is what we hope to learn. Oh my god. So we hope to learn how to make a story-based game. You know, this is all of our first project because, yeah. How to work in a team. I've done games before, but I've never worked in a team, so I'd like to learn that. How to be more organized. We're not saying we're disorganized, but we could be more organized. General skills like sculpting, rigging, animating 3D characters for games. This is going to be 3D, by the way. And programming a combat system in the Godot engine, whatever we want to say. Okay, who do we need? I know it looks like we have a lot of us, but more help is always appreciated because we all have lives. We can't work on this. We're not a studio. Audio and music though, we have no one. We need music. We don't want to play this game in dead silence. That's awkward. 2D artists. This is gonna be a pretty art-heavy game, so yeah, especially like background artists. We definitely need background artists. 3D artists, we have 3D artists, but it's gonna be a lot of work too. It's gonna be a lot of stuff. So even if you just want to learn, please help us. Please help us. God, please help us. Programming, we're gonna be using Godot engine, definitely not Unity, am I right? And we're gonna be organizing the code on GitHub. So if you know GD script or even Python, they're basically the same. Join us. Extra help will be nice too, in case we have like any other stretch tools like voice acting, which is not realistic, but if we could, you will not be compensated. Sorry, I don't know why you came in here with the expectation of getting paid. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, this is our MVP. So, basic combat system with swappable characters. So like we have 2 characters and you can swap as you've seen in the previous slide, the one before the summary. Basic attacking and magic, so like melee attacks and like a very simple gun attack. At least one AI controlled enemy, the toaster. Remember the toaster? Simple crafting system, very, very simple. No UI elements, just do you have these things? That's a crafting system. And an intro to the story. This is going to be a pretty story-heavy game, so yeah. It wasn't mentioned on the I mean, yeah, we have 9 chapters hypothetically, but we're
doing like a very small portion of one.
Yeah. So here's some stuff that we have already. So we've started a little bit, but like I said, we would still love more people to join us. So we have some concept art of the 2 characters that we'll have. Wow. Some assets that we may use for like the general vibe. So kind of like cyberpunk. I don't know if you couldn't tell from the whole theme of the slides. Animations. Wow. And very bare bone like prototype. Like it's literally just camera movement, but we figured out like the swappable characters. So all the other attacking and magic stuff, that should not be too difficult. So if you're not an expert in Godot, don't worry about it. We would love to have you. Inspirations. I know what it looks like.
Okay, so a lot of the art is inspired by either Xenoblade 2 or Paper Mario. I really like the environments of those games and the whole story environment of those two games. A lot of gameplay is also inspired by Devil May Cry 5. I know it's not going to be as complicated as Devil May Cry 5, but
Ignore that. So yeah, thank you guys. If you have any questions, you can message us on Discord. But yeah, we'd be really glad to have you, and we're very excited to work on this project with you. 3D modelers and animators, please. Once again, we're begging on our knees, begging, and audio. We need audio. We don't want to play this game in dead silence. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great. We're actually on time today, which is nice. Just a few reminders: if you want to join a team, it's going to be in the Get Your Roles channel. Just react to the bot, and you'll be given the role.
And while you can join multiple teams, we do highly recommend you only focus on one, because it's just really hard to split all of your efforts between multiple teams.
Yeah, it can definitely get overwhelming if you want to do more than one. So we recommend that you try and stick with one team if you can. And just a reminder that this Friday is going to be the last 7 pitches. We know it's tempting to join a team right now, but we do encourage you to maybe hold off on that just until Friday and see if maybe there's another team that might interest you that day. And yeah, tune in next week for a guest speaker who's worked on Call of Duty. And if you could fill out this sign-in sheet, that would help us a lot. And we'll also be sending out all these links and announcements and stuff after this meeting today. With that said, anything else? Okay, I think we're good. In that case, thank you all for joining us, and you're all free to go now. Thank you.